I overheard my fiancé and his family mocking me, so I exposed them, took off my ring, and walked away for good.
I'm 23, and I'm engaged to Ethan, who's 24.
We've been together for 5 years now, and we're planning to get married in July 2025. I always thought his family liked me, we got along well, and they never gave me a reason to think otherwise. He has 2 older brothers, one 26 and the other 29, both married. Honestly, I was excited about becoming a part of their family. They had always been kind to me, and I looked forward to having them as in-laws.
There's something important to mention before I get into the real issue.
About a year ago, I was scrolling through Instagram when I came across this profile.
It belonged to an older woman who posted inspirational quotes.
Some of them were kind of cheesy, but in a sweet way. One post, in particular, stuck with me. It said something along the lines of, "Only foolish people pretend to know everything.
Don't pretend, just ask." That one simple quote changed me in ways I didn't expect.
Before that, I was always nervous about looking dumb if I didn't know something.
But after reading that, I realized if I kept pretending I knew everything, I'd never actually learn anything new.
So, I made a conscious decision to start admitting when I didn't understand something and just ask.
If someone brought up the war in Kosovo, instead of nodding along and pretending, I'd ask a few questions to really understand what they were talking about.
I got into the habit of writing down questions in my notes app, stuff I wanted to look up later.
Here are some of my most recent ones. 1. How does time work in a black hole? 2. Why do some snails have shells while others don't? 3. What foods are safe for ducks? 4. How do old gas-filled light bulbs work? 5. Do we all see colors the same way? And how could we even know? Sorry for the long backstory, but I think it helps explain the kind of person I am.
I realize that sometimes, my curiosity might come off as a little much.
Now, on to the real problem.
Last weekend, Ethan's parents hosted a small family barbecue, just his mom, dad, brothers, and their wives. I was the last to arrive since I had to work late. When I got to the house, I was walking through to the backyard when I overheard Ethan's mom talking about me.
Well, not just talking, mocking. She put on this exaggerated, high-pitched voice and started mimicking me. How does the sun work? Where should I put the fork? Why doesn't anyone like me? How do I wipe my ass?
I just froze.
My stomach dropped. I couldn't move, I just stood there, listening.
And then, they all started laughing. One of my future sisters-in-law spoke up, saying she didn't really mind me asking questions, that she thought it was kind of cute. For a second, I felt relieved, hoping someone would chime in and say, "Oh, we're just joking."
We love that about her. But no one did. Instead, Ethan's mom snapped back, "It's not cute. She's just stupid." And then, more laughter. Including Ethan's. That was the moment my heart cracked a little. He didn't defend me.
He didn't say a single kind word.
He just laughed along with them. I turned around quietly and left. I texted Ethan, telling him I wasn't feeling well and had to stay home. Now, I'm stuck trying to figure out how to handle this. We live together, but since that night, I've been sleeping in the guest room, using the excuse that I don't want him to catch whatever sickness I supposedly have. But I can't keep avoiding him forever. I can't pretend to be sick much longer, it's already been too long. I don't know what to do next. Maybe I misinterpreted the situation. I've considered talking to them about it, but I'm afraid they won't be honest with me. The thing is, I can't marry someone who truly thinks I'm stupid. And I definitely can't marry into a family that has so little respect for me. But what if it was just a joke? Am I overreacting? Maybe I should learn to laugh at myself more.
Some days, I manage to convince myself that it's not a big deal.
Other days, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I've seen a lot of people say that they can't stand people like me. And honestly, I get it. I know I can be a bit much sometimes,
but I don't go around interrogating strangers.
I don't hijack conversations at parties. I mostly ask questions around people I trust, people I think won't judge me. And when I'm talking to someone who's an expert on a subject, I ask because I genuinely want to learn.
If I'm part of a discussion about climate change, I'm not going to randomly ask about monkeys, if you know what I mean.
I'm not an idiot.
If a question seems too dumb to ask out loud, I jot it down in my notes and look it up later.
I do my research. But yeah, I ask a lot of questions, and I know that about myself. At the end of the day, though, what really hurts isn't that they were laughing at my curiosity. It's that they were laughing at me. Behind my back. And Ethan just let it happen.
I keep thinking, if I bring this up, and he brushes it off with something like, "That's just how they are," or "Don't take it so seriously," then what does that mean for our future? If he makes excuses for them, he's basically telling me that this will never change.
That I'm supposed to accept it. And if I stay silent, I'm giving them permission to keep treating me this way. And the worst part? If they can't say it to my face, that tells me everything I need to know about the kind of people they really are. If you really want to know where you stand with these people, the best thing to do is confront them. Their reactions will tell you everything: how they handle conflict, how they truly feel about you, and whether this is the kind of family you can see yourself being part of. If you marry Ethan, his family will be a permanent fixture in your life for as long as they're around, and you need to be sure you can live with that. Beck 2010 said it best: tell Ethan exactly what you heard. Let him know that, out of everything that was said, his reaction hurt you the most. His mother's words were cruel, but hearing him laugh instead of standing up for you? That was like a knife to the heart. Then ask him, why should I marry you? Why should I commit my life to someone who finds it so easy to laugh at me behind my back? He knows you ask questions because you want to understand the world better. The smartest person in the room is the one who isn't afraid to admit when they don't know something. And yet, in that moment, all you heard was ignorance, cruelty, and a complete lack of kindness. How ironic that a family so quick to mock others would fail so completely at basic decency. If it were me, I'd call off the wedding. _Greengrace put it plainly: you're not overreacting, and you're not being too sensitive. What they did was mean, and mocking someone like that is never okay. What's worse is that his mother has spent all this time pretending to be kind and accepting, all while secretly thinking so little of you. And the rest of them? Their silence and laughter showed exactly where they stand. If they didn't agree, they would have said something. They didn't. That tells you everything. But here's the real advice: find your voice. Stand up for yourself. Learn to deal with conflict directly instead of avoiding it. Dodging confrontation won't save you from pain, it'll only drag it out. Before your next relationship, work on becoming the kind of person who wouldn't sleep in the guest room just to avoid showing their hurt. Be the kind of person who wouldn't make excuses, who wouldn't pretend to be sick instead of facing the problem head on. When someone hurts you, let them see it. Demand kindness and honesty from the people in your life, and start by being honest with yourself. If you do that, your next relationship, whenever it happens, will be stronger and healthier. Because let's be real, this one would have ended in heartbreak eventually. Walk away, and don't feel bad about it. Only Video had another approach: tell Ethan exactly what you heard. Let him know how deeply it hurt you. Tell him you no longer trust him the way you once did. And then, reach out to his brother's wife, the one person who at least tried to say something nice. Let her know you appreciate that, and then let her know you're leaving Ethan. She'll tell the family. Ethan will know. His mother will know. And she'll have to sit with the consequences of her own words. If she tries to excuse it later, if she says she was just joking or that you're too sensitive, deep down, she'll know the truth. She'll know she was cruel. She'll know her words cost her son a fiancé. And that's on her. Update. First, I just want to say thank you. A lot of people reached out to answer my questions about black holes, snails, ducks, light bulbs, and so much more. Honestly, I'd love to have people like you as my friends. And to the ones who told me I should just shut up, I don't care if you find me annoying. I'm not here to please everyone. I'm here to enjoy my life, learn, and follow what interests me. I didn't expect my post to blow up like this, but I'm really grateful for the advice. Most of you told me to either break up with Ethan or, at the very least, confront him. And that's exactly what I decided to do. You gave me the push I needed. Before talking to Ethan, though, I reached out to his brother's wife, the one who had said she didn't mind my questions. I asked if she'd meet me for coffee, and she agreed. When we sat down, I didn't bother pretending I didn't know. After some small talk, I just came out with it. I told her I heard what they said at the barbecue. She immediately looked ashamed. She admitted it wasn't just a joke, and it wasn't taken out of context, it was just mean. Straight up cruel. She told me she felt bad for not standing up for me more, and I told her I understood. I wasn't mad at her. I just needed to be sure I wasn't imagining things, that I wasn't twisting this into something it wasn't. And she confirmed it wasn't just teasing. They were laughing at me behind my back. That was all I needed to hear. So, finally, I confronted Ethan. A lot of you warned me he'd try to gaslight me, and you were right. That night, we were having dinner together for the first time since the barbecue. I'd been avoiding him up until then, and yeah, I know that wasn't the most mature thing. But outside of you guys, I don't really have a strong support system. My family and closest friends are hundreds of miles away, and I only have 2 really good friends here. I felt so overwhelmed, I thought I might pass out. My legs were shaking. Deep down, I knew this was the moment my 5-year relationship was about to fall apart. I looked him in the eyes and asked, "How does the sun work?" He looked confused. So I followed with, "Where should I put my fork? Why does nobody like me?" And then it hit him. He started nervously laughing. That's when I said it, I was there. I heard everything. At first, he just looked shocked. But then, instead of apologizing, he got angry. He said it was rude of me to eavesdrop. I told him it was rude to bully people. Then came the excuses, it was just a joke, I was overreacting, I needed to lighten up. He even said it was actually funny. I told him I didn't find it funny. And I left the table. That's when the panic set in for him. He followed me, suddenly desperate to talk. He kept apologizing, swearing he'd be honest with me. So I asked him, had his mother made comments like this before? He admitted she had. I asked if he had ever defended me. He hesitated. Then he said he tries to. I don't know if I believe him. And honestly, I don't think it even matters anymore. He told me he loves me. That he respects me. I stared at him, trying to see the truth in his eyes. I couldn't find it. I told him I loved him too, but I needed space. He was my first and only partner. The only relationship I had ever known. I had nothing to compare this to, no outside perspective. And I needed time to figure out if this was really the life I wanted. So I packed a few things and left for my friend's place. The apartment was in his name anyway. The moment I walked out, the texts started. Then the calls. Over and over. I didn't answer. I was too hurt. Hurt that he had laughed at me, hurt that he had let his family mock me, hurt that the only time he showed real concern was when he realized he might lose me. The next day, I decided to give him one last chance to explain himself. When I walked back into the apartment, he looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept. He told me he had confessed everything to his mother. I told him I didn't care. I wasn't interested in some forced apology from her. I was already done with her. This was about him, whether he was willing to stand up for me, whether he was strong enough to be the partner I deserved. And once again, instead of taking responsibility, he tried to downplay it. It was just a joke, he said. That was the last straw. I slid my engagement ring off my finger, placed it on the table between us, and looked him in the eye. Your behavior is a joke, I said. And I refused to be the punchline. I wished him and his family well, told him to take a long look in the mirror and ask himself if they were really as superior as they thought. Then I told him I'd be back soon with my friend to collect the rest of my things, and from now on, the only reason he should contact me was to coordinate moving my stuff out. And that was it. I walked out for the last time. I can't tell you how grateful I am for all of your advice and support. Without you, I don't think I would have had the courage to walk away. But now I know, I deserve better. I deserve a partner who will defend me, not laugh at me. A partner who will have my back, not make excuses for the people tearing me down. And I refuse to spend the rest of my life feeling like an outsider in my own family. I hope they treat his next girlfriend better. But that's no longer my problem. I'm done.